you.
What's going on, Pennsylvania? Oh, I love this. Love this. Who's excited right now? Who's ready to take back their country? Who's had enough of the insanity? How many genders are there? 2. Good answer. I mean, think about it, that we're actually having these conversations, right, in 2024. The 4,976 genders that your kids will be indoctrinated with school prevents them from learning basic math. I read something today, literally, as I was getting on the stage, I was just scrolling through, Twitter, and apparently Bill Gates is funding something where they don't want teachers to grade math that is wrong as incorrect because somehow that is
racist.
Now racist, because math is, everything's racist, right? It's like the easy button of the political left. We don't want our kids to be competent. We don't want them to know how to read. We don't want them to be able to thrive later on in life. And that's what it is right now. We've seen that. That's what today's Democratic Party, they want you to barely survive. They want you just enough that you're dependent on them for some sort of insane handout. My father, Dave McCormick, the Republican ticket, they want you to thrive. They want you to win. They want you to be able to live your American dream. And it's been a long time since you've been able to do that, right? Feels like the only export we've had as a country has been your American dream. We've sent it to China. We must use the proper vernacular, right? China. I get that a little bit, yeah. Some genes run strong. It's the hands and maybe the vernacular, right? But that's the reality. What we're living right now, everyone talks about inflation. It's not inflation. It's the Biden-Harris cost of living crisis. Okay, and I'm not one of these liberals. My 2-week-old baby was crying the other day about nuclear proliferation on the Korean Peninsula. They were very upset about it. I'm like, I get who I am. I'm very self-aware. I'm the son of a billionaire from Manhattan. But I remember a story that just seems to resonate well. It was last summer. I took 2 of my boys. We were coming back from a fishing trip. A 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, and me. And we went to McDonald's. And we also now have a new member of the family who's one of the greatest fry cooks maybe ever. Many have said the greatest fry cook in the history of fry cooks. But I went to McDonald's with 2 young boys, and it was $48. Think about that. No. If Donald Trump Jr. has sticker shock at McDonald's, we have a problem, folks. But we have a bigger problem that our politicians in D.C. don't even recognize that that's the problem. They couldn't care less. I had a sort of a great privilege in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I got to see the worst of Mother Nature, but also the best of humanity. I live in Florida, so, I live in an area that was hit hard with those tornadoes. I went around with Congressman Brian Mast there, and I also flew up to North Carolina because I wanted to see the damage of the hurricane there. The counties there that were just ravaged. And I went there, and I actually saw so much of what we're all fighting for. Real America. Neighbors helping their friends, their loved ones, people flying in, independent people, not the government. FEMA was totally missing. I spoke to the fire chief. I spoke to the police chief. We don't know. The people at Samaritan's Purse were doing that. They were taking your donations, $20 a month that you're donating. They're flying in on Black Hawk helicopters, dropping off generators and heating systems. It was incredible. But I did want to see it with my own eyes because, even me, you sort of get jaded with what's out there. What's real, what's not. So I said, hey, can I go with you guys and do this? At the same time, I was a little reluctant. Right? I was like, I'm taking up the space on this Black Hawk that could be another generator, perhaps. And so I was like, you don't want to be that guy, right? So I was a little worried about it. You get off the helicopter, and when someone's lost their business, they've lost their home, they've lost a loved one, it's sort of tough, right? It's an awkward space. And yet, when you got off that helicopter, these people ran up just saying, thank you. Thank you, Don, for being here. Thank you for talking about it. Thank you for paying attention. And you could see just how disgusted they were with their own government. Yeah. They'd lost everything. And they got a $750 loan. You got to pay it back. I mean, minor details. But that night, they passed a bill to send $175 million to Lebanon. The night after that, another $450 million to Ukraine. On top of the $250 billion we've already sent, plus I imagine the $260 billion that the Pentagon lost. When they lost it, just $260 billion, not million, billion. If you send your friend $601 on Venmo, you're going to get audited by one of the new armed 86,000 IRS agents. But the Pentagon can lose $260 billion, and it's like, ho-hum, no big deal. But think about that. Think of how insane that is. A $750 loan from FEMA because they have nothing left in their budget because they were housing illegals in luxury hotels around America. The FE in FEMA stands for Federal Emergency. Housing illegals is not a federal emergency. They allowed them to come in. They gave them $10,000. Here, you get a phone, you get a court date in 30 years. Welcome to America. We've become second-class citizens in our own country. Yep. And they're not even pretending it. Honestly, so many of the Republicans in D.C. are just as culpable in this insanity. Right? I'll do the survey here because I got to add to it. I always like to add to it. When we're talking about Ukraine, I kept seeing, Mitch McConnell two and a half years ago when the Ukraine war started. You get up there. The Ukraine war is the number one issue for Republicans across the country. I go, that's weird. I didn't think so either. I go, I spent a lot of time with people like yourselves. I do this day in and day out. Here, 500 people there, 1,000 people here, open up for my father, 15,000 people there. And I've now done this survey like hundreds of times to, I'd say the number's probably close to 100,000 people, which is a pretty serious sample size for a survey, right? So we'll do it again here. Is Ukraine the top 3 issue for anyone in the room? No. No hand? Is it a top 10 issue for anyone here? All right. So far, I've done this, like I said, 100,000, probably a little bit more than that people. I've had 3 people answer yes. None of them were top 3. 3 people said top 10. First guy asked, sir, why is it a top 10 issue for you? Well, I'm from Kiev, Ukraine. I go, I'm going to give that guy a pass. I'm giving that guy a pass. Next guy, sir, what was it for you? Some other group, somewhere else. He misunderstood the question. He thought it was a double negative, so he was actually on our side. And the third guy that was in the affirmative was actually in the affirmative, but I think he had a board seat at Raytheon, so he really makes a lot of money if we're at war forever. Wasting your money on something that no one's articulated even on what victory looks like. And guys, it does not have to be this way. We can actually put ourselves, our future, our country, and our children first. We just have to have the guts to actually do it. We can't sit on our asses hoping it does well. It's like the polling. Oh, he's doing great in the polling. Guess what? It means nothing. Half the polls are designed to demoralize you so you sit at home. The other half are designed to get you overconfident so you sit at home. But guys, it's not about Donald Trump by himself. They've shown they can cancel the most powerful guy in the world. They can shut him down. They can lie about him for years. We need to sweep the entire ticket. We need to get rid of Democrats in government because today's Democrats no longer represent you. When you think about it, right? And I understand that this is a former sort of blue-collar Democrat stronghold. What have they done for you in decades? Nothing. Not a thing. So, yes, they did. Well, they'll promise you whatever you need, right, at the time, and then they do whatever their woke constituency tells you. There are legitimate sort of blue-collar Democrats left in their country. They just don't have anyone who's representing them anymore because you can't win a race without the crazy Soros radical liberal dollars. That's why those people are all in for Kamala Harris. And you see the media's doing their job. You know, the marketing department of today's left. No, Kamala Harris is going to be a moderate. I'm like, wait, what? Like, she's the daughter of a Marxist professor from San Francisco. She's an extreme radical liberal. She had the most leftist record in the United States Senate. Left of Bernie Sanders, because at least he seems to care about American jobs a little bit. The daughter of a Marxist professor, just so we're clear, the daughter of a Marxist professor does not become a moderate after being a radical leftist for her whole life. Someone whose literally policies include wanting to use your taxpayer dollars for transgender surgery for illegal criminals in prison systems. I mean, I don't know, guys. I can think of about 25 billion things I would rather spend your taxpayer dollars on that actually is accretive to Americans. Kamala Harris isn't going to be a moderate, but they'll sell it to you with a straight face. If Kamala Harris magically turned into a moderate, that would be like me waking up one morning as Donald Trump Jr. being like, soft. Right? It's not going to happen. But again, Donald Trump can't do it by himself. I get it, guys. It's not easy to be a conservative. It's harder to be a vocal conservative. It's a lot harder to be a Trump-supporting vocal conservative. But these days, that's changing. You see that all over the place. I see it on college campuses. Young kids that wouldn't have been caught dead wearing a MAGA hat. Now it's like, cool. You see the response. It's different because everyone knows it. The other side has gotten so radical, so extreme, they can't even pretend anymore. So if we all become unafraid, if we all get together and fight as one for ourselves, for our kids, for our future, we can win this thing. But we can't do it if people sit back. We can't do it if you say, hey, I'm voting for Donald Trump, and then I'll vote for the other guy because he's been my senator for a long time, even though he votes 98% of the time with radical Joe Biden. That's what you've got from Bob Casey. You have an incredible opportunity to put Dave McCormick in the Senate. You've got a great congressional roster in the area that we can win. Get Rob in there. We can flip Pennsylvania. We can send Washington, D.C. a mandate that they actually have to start thinking about you for a change. Not just telling you that and then doing whatever they want. There's a difference. Again, I don't want to just win the presidency and then lose the Senate and the House because I've been there. That's happened. Whether it's weak Republican leadership or leftist leadership, I've paid my dues there. I've done 50 hours of congressional testimony for treason. Just so we understand what that means. That's a crime punishable by death. And I understand that according to CNN that I am not the upstanding citizen that Hunter Biden is. I know that. Yeah, it took a little while to get this. She's like, oh, that was kind of funny, right? It's true. I have a feeling if that was my laptop, it would be a little bit different, right? Like, I'd be calling in to you right now from Guantanamo Bay. My father would have been the one to send me there. I think Joe probably should have sent Hunter to Guantanamo. That would have probably done him some favors. You know, every once in a while, you need the disciplinarian parent to say, like, no, like, you need a little kick in the butt, and apparently never happened. But, like, imagine that. Imagine it was Don Jr. and it was, like, any one of, like, the hundreds of things on that laptop. Any one of them would have been individually disqualifying, yet for him it's fine. You know, he takes $1 billion from China. I'm sure that's legit. You know, the Chinese are many things. They're not stupid, right? They don't give $1 billion to crackheads, just so we're clear. Like, it's like a Chappelle Show skit. It's like, yeah, sure. We need to diversify our portfolio of managers. So we're going to find a good crackhead manager and make sure that, you know, it's like the DEI program of, you know, Chinese investment. That's not going to happen, right? But it's what we're up against. Remember, 52 intelligence agents swear that that's Russian disinformation. Well, 2 years later, when it no longer matters, well, it wasn't Russian disinformation. They knew that. Those are the same 52 that are signing off to tell you that Kamala Harris is going to do a good job. These are the same people that want to crush our First Amendment, plus Hillary Clinton, plus John Kerry, plus Kamala Harris, that pesky First Amendment that they keep talking about. We got to make sure we really regulate that to control misinformation. I'm like, well, I don't know. You guys have been, sort of feels like you've been peddling a lot of misinformation. I mean, Hillary Clinton started the Russia hoax, right? Like, so when they do this and they start regulating free speech, who's going to be the arbiter of truth? The people who've been lying to us forever? We're going to let it be, like, I don't know, Anthony Fauci?
Oh, hell no.
So think about it. No, but, right? I got in trouble for this at the time. I was canceled and they threw me off social and all that stuff, and I was censored because I said, I don't know, guys, like as a sentient being, as someone with a brain, do you ever think that, I don't know, maybe the Wuhan lab leak came from the lab in Wuhan, China that studies the exact virus in question? Like at ground zero of the outbreak? Like, how dare you, Don? This was their... Don, you're not a virologist. How dare you talk about this that way? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't think you have to be a virologist. You just have to, like, not be an imbecile. Like, it's not that hard. Like, of course it did. But if you're in academia, if you had a government research grant, if you worked at a university hospital and you said the obvious, gone. Funding gone, all of this gone. The people who did that, they're going to be the arbiters of truth in all of this. I don't think so, folks. I don't think so. Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. They call you fascist. They called us they called us everything in the book. They did it to my father, right? When they couldn't impeach him twice, then they tried to bankrupt him. When they can't bankrupt him, they try to take his businesses. When they can't take his businesses, they tried to throw him in jail for 750 years. I don't know, seems extreme for someone who, like, did a great job keeping inflation down, kept us out of wars, signed peace deals in the Middle East, raised wages for the lowest income earners. Seems sort of extreme. Like, it's like the worst fascist ever. Like, if he's a fascist, he failed miserably. He's also not the one trying to jail his political opposition. I keep hearing, the other day, what was it, yesterday, day before, Kamala Harris, Trump is literally Hitler. I'm like, I don't know. You're the ones jailing your political opponents. You're the ones stymieing free speech, not just Trump, but innocent citizens around the country. You're the ones overseeing the DOJ that literally is looking at concerned parents, mothers going to PTA meetings and being like, I don't want my children indoctrinated with the woke garbage. They're domestic terrorists, not labeled by some fringe group, labeled by our DOJ and FBI. Now, those guys have become fringe groups, but that's actually happening in America in 2024. And we don't have to allow it. But we do have to put in the full effort, okay? I say, to win by 1, we have to win by 5. We understand they're going to play their games. Like, I know they'll cancel me again for this, but, like, does anyone really believe Joe Biden lost 18 of 19 bellwethers? He lost more counties than any person to ever win the presidency by a lot. But he magically outperformed even Barack Obama in Atlanta, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Detroit exclusively. Like, come on now. That's less plausible than, like, the Wuhan lab leak theory thing didn't happen, right? Like, so we understand that. We're onto it. We're doing what we can to do that, but we have to overwhelm it. We have to make it too big to rig. Dave actually did a great job sort of, talking about, just this. Like, every candidate, every election, we've seen people running for dog catcher. This is literally the most important dog catcher race in the history of elections. Actually, watching what the Democrats are doing right now, you should watch and try to elect a good dog catcher, because who knows what they're going to do with your dogs.
Yes.
You like that? Huh? True story. Yeah, they're like, no, that's a cow. I'm like, cows don't have legs this big on the barbecue sitting there like this. It's like, that didn't happen, right? Like, but it is legitimately the most important election in our lifetimes. This is what's going to separate us from going towards the path of communism or maintaining our liberty. And again, this isn't hyperbole, because they're saying the quiet parts out loud. They're not hiding from it. I don't even have to go through the examples because you all know them. I see you nodding your heads. It's that simple. So we have to sweep all of these things. Senate, House, legislatures, school boards. And think about what this party now stands for. I mean, think of the trades we've made in the last couple of months. We traded Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney for RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard and Elon Musk. This party is the party of a big tent. This party is the party of common sense. This party is the party of unity. I'm watching these guys.
USA.
I'm watching these guys. All right, let's go.
USA. 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 USA.
See, I know there's no Democrats in the crowd because it would be like Dracula being exposed to sunlight with you guys chanting that. They just, poof, just disappeared. You'd see just a cloud of puff. It'd be over. It'd be over. But think about that. I'm watching today's Democrat Party embrace the Dick Cheney endorsement. I'm like, for the last 30 years, you've called him like a war criminal, and now you're excited that he's on the team. But they have become the party of war. If they win, like, I could see Liz Cheney as like Secretary of Defense, and we can send your dollars and your children to go fight wars that we can't possibly have any interest in forever, so that their cronies in Washington, D.C. can keep their board seats and sell more missiles. It doesn't have to be this way. Imagine letting RFK Jr. take over the FDA or HHS and actually make our children healthy again. We can do that. We don't have to agree with everything that he says or does, but we know he'd be a rock star in that position. How about Elon Musk in terms of government efficiency? Like, we have the chance to unleash the Einstein of our era in government. He could save us $1 trillion a year. I mean, he took Twitter over, cut 80% of the staff, and it functioned better. Our government needs that kind of overhaul, and we have the people with the capability. I mean, think about it. This guy with in 5 years, he's outperforming NASA in space. NASA's been doing this stuff for like 75 years, and they can't quite handle it. He started it, funded it privately. Like, you could unleash that guy? Think about that. Again, former Democrats that said, I've had enough. So that's what you guys have to understand. We have an opportunity that is once in a lifetime to change everything, to fix things with people who are actually capable of fixing it. Not like what we're used to in Washington, D.C., which is, I'm going to make $1 trillion decision, not because I know anything about the decision, but because I've been here longer, I have tenure, and therefore power. You know what kind of opportunity that is? That's incredible. But we need you guys to be a part of that process. When we get all of America behind common sense, there's nothing they can do. We can just watch the liberal tears flow, which will be quite satisfying after the nonsense we've had to deal with for the last 4 years, right?
Yeah.
But we can do that, but we need you guys to vote. We need you speaking to your friends and the neighbors and the people who are undecided, and explain that opportunity. Because again, if you're here on a beautiful Saturday, you're into this stuff. You're like me. Like, we do this day in and day out. We're paying attention. We understand the nuance. We understand the lies. But it's not easy to survive under Bidenomics. It's not easy to survive with Kamala Harris and the cost of living crisis they created by spending your money foolishly and allowing the Fed to just print more money. One day, you're going to come and have to pay the piper for all of that. The people who are working hard just trying to survive, they're listening to 2 minutes of news in the background, and they believe that it may be real. You guys know better. So have that conversation, get out there, vote early, and then spend the next 9 days driving your friends to the polls. Call them. Pennsylvania, you guys are so critical. I mean, this is everything, right? But if you have friends in the other swing states, do the same thing. Get out there and sweep. Again, it's not just about Donald Trump. I've been through that headache. I don't want it to be him. I don't have time to do congressional testimony for the rest of my life for no reason. You know, we all know it was one big lie. It doesn't stop them from doing it, right? The problem with nonsense, I see a couple of kids, so I won't use the B word. But the problem with that is you still have to deal with it. It doesn't have to be real. They have enough power, they can make it real. So you guys have to do that. I'll say, like, for the next 9 days, you have to function like you're the third monkey in line for the Ark and it's starting to rain. Okay? Get aggressive. Okay? That's it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, yeah, okay, you got that one. It's a good reference. Because that's what we're at. That's where we're at for our country. It is a critical juncture. Whatever you would do, if you woke up on November 6th and Kamala Harris was president-elect, yeah, I know, it's a disaster. Whatever you would do on that day to get like a mulligan, to get a do-over, do it now and do it for the next 9 days. It's too important to sit back. I get it. Again, life's hard. People are busy. It's too critical. Think of what they've done to your cost of living. Think of what they've done, how much more you have to earn just to maintain parity, just to stay where you were. For the average American household, it's thousands of dollars, in many cases tens of thousands of dollars, just to be net neutral. Your wages didn't go up that high. You can stop this, but we need all of your help. And I can promise you this, guys. The resolve you guys saw on July 13th, when my father got back up after getting shot in the face, that is the resolve that he will carry into this administration. That is the resolve that kept us out of wars. That's the resolve that kept our dictators, our enemies, in check. That allowed us to thrive not just economically, but geopolitically. Okay? We need that. These days, I know, everyone's, the internet has made everyone very tough, right? Everyone's a tough guy on a keyboard. But you get shot in the face and you're still a tough guy. That's different. That's special. We can do this, but we need you guys in there. And I can assure you one thing. My father will never, ever, ever, and the rest of our family, frankly, ever stop fighting as long as you guys are out there fighting with us, okay? That I can promise you. So Pennsylvania, get out there. Vote. Call your friends. Let's end this insanity once and for all and take our country back. God bless everyone. Thank you. Vote for everyone here, guys. Get it going. Do not